Uh, Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you for coming back and nice to have you here. Today is October 17, 2021. I'm here to share some updates on Ethiopian civil war and other news. So, uh, on a civil war, uh, northern uh, part of Ethiopia, as you might already heard from different media, the fighting is very heavy, very bloody, and the casualties are very staggering. So the Ethiopian Defense Force, Amara militia, Fano, plus all the militia brought from other regions, uh, attempted to recapture some areas like Waldia and others captured by TDF forces. But that attempt for now is unsuccessful, and the TDF forces even move deeper into the Amara regions and also in a far region, capturing the town of Chifra. And uh, one military general, one TDF military general, when describing the significance of the capturing of the Chifra, he said that, it is like capturing the palace in Addis Ababa, the palace where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is sitting. So it's a very significant achievement, very high military value, the capturing of Chifra. So TDF still in control of Chifra and moving close to Kombolcha and Desse. The fighting is still heavy, still going on, and huge defeat on the side of Fano, Amara militia, and all the Ethiopian Defense Forces. Their attempt is unsuccessful because of the heroic fighters from TDF. So that's still going on. The attempt is, reinforcement and the retrying is still going on Ethiopian side, and also the attempt on TDF side to defend themselves and capture more areas. So the fighting is endless, and it's a very tough one, very bloody one, and no sign of ending. As I said before, no sign. Even though Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed sending mixed signals, uh, accepting the mediators and advancing, attempting to advance the war plan. So there is no clear message on Ethiopian side. There is no the intent to end this bloody war. So instead of doing this, what the prime minister and the deputy prime minister and the regional governors, what they do, going around and visiting sample farmlands, very nice farmlands, one or two, to divert the attention of Ethiopians and to feed false prosperity agenda. And to think, think like the country is normal. The country is not at war. There is no bloodshed, according to them. So they are showing Ethiopians and the global world a rosy picture, a false propaganda. So they are doing this, and this is their attempt when people are in a southern part of Ethiopia too, suffering from drought and food and water shortage, especially in Borana area. More than 7,000 cattle died of starvation. died of drought, and the people are, children, women are, and the elderly are suffering from food shortage. So these people, the prime minister and the prosperity officials, they are going around and showing us nice farmland and telling the farmers buy machineries instead of weapons, so that's the picture they want to create. But the country is in crisis. The country is in a very bad shape. And they supposed to, these Prosperity Party officials, Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister and all these regional governments, they're supposed to visit and see how the people are suffering, those people who displaced in a war region, those in Dase area and other places, who children, women who are suffering from measles and other infections, and food shortage, sanitation, and shelter from shortage of shelter, and suffering from malnutrition. So the leaders, they are in a different world. The country is in collapsing. The country is in terror. The country is in a major food shortage. Our leaders are telling us the country is normal, is a rosy picture, and they are going around and showing us a nice things. So they are in a different world. That's why we say the leadership is a failure, and that's why we, concerned citizens media, repeatedly call on this leadership to resign and open space for other leadership. The leadership who understand the situation, who can deal with the situation, who can deal with the reality. These people are out of reality. Ethiopians are suffering. Women, children, elderly are suffering. Their animals also suffering, and the conflict is everywhere. And you see the Amara Special Forces and the Fanos are crossing into East Wallagga region, and killing almost more than 31 Oromos, and the federal government has no control. Chaos everywhere. So it's terrible. It's very terrible. So the situation is very bad, and there is no, uh, there is no hope in that country. More people are displaced. More people are dying, and this war is creating more bloodshed. And the leadership we have, they're not dealing with it appropriately, ignoring all the international calls. So that's a very tough one, and still going on. And I have some update on videos and on reading. So thank you again. Let's see first a little bit update from United Nations. Then I will read some material and share some video with you. Thank you again. Okay, this one is a short video from United Nations update on Ethiopia.
A humanitarian update for you on Ethiopia. Our humanitarian colleagues tell us they are greatly concerned about the situation in the north of the country, where they're receiving reports of an intensification of the conflict in multiple locations. Despite the extremely challenging circumstances, aid workers continue to deliver assistance to people across 3 northern provinces. In Tigray, where more than 90% of the people need aid and an estimated 400,000 people are living in famine-like conditions, aid operations continue to face significant challenges. Although more than 200 trucks of humanitarian supplies arrived in Tigray last week, far more is needed, and the convoys did not receive clearance to carry much-needed fuel or medicine, as we've been telling you about the issue of our fuel trucks that have been stuck. The lack of cash, fuel, and supplies in disrupting the response in multiple areas. Last week, our humanitarian partners were only able to reach 17% of the people who should have received food assistance. Water trucking services in central and northwestern zones have been reduced, and that impacts 472,000 men, women, and children. Our colleagues say they are particularly concerned that much needed medical supplies continue to be blocked from entering Tigray. 9 trucks carrying medicine have been awaiting approval to enter Tigray since the beginning of August. In Amhara and Afar, we continue to scale up our operations so that people impacted by the fighting receive the help they need. Since the beginning of August, 640,000 people in Amhara and 72,000 people in Afar have received food assistance. Again, we call on the parties to the conflict to halt the fighting and ensure that aid workers are able to reach all people in dire need of help. Back here in the chamber next door in the Security Council, the Special Representative.
Okay, that's update on the situation in Tigray on humanitarian assistance. Still, aid is blocked. Nothing changed. You know, the United Nations keep calling on humanitarian access to be open. No response. Still ignored by Ethiopian government because they are still waiting for some kind of tough action, I think, and that's why.
By advertising on YouTube, I catch the eye of my ideal customers at the right time. Good day, everyone.
So that's the situation. People are in need of food aid and medicine and other cash assistance. Still, they are not getting it, and they are blocked from entering Tigray. And I don't know how these people they're gonna build Ethiopia. They're talking about Ethiopia, but they are causing the suffering of Ethiopians in the Tigray region. The whole people, not only TDF, the whole people suffering under Abiy Ahmed. They are not paid salary, and they are not getting their own money from bank. They are not getting medicine. They are not getting education. They are not getting nothing from the federal government. And these people, they're punishing the whole region. And they are claiming Ethiopia cannot be disintegrated. But they are causing the disintegration of Ethiopia. And they are causing the people feel their, creating the feeling to separate from Ethiopia by their action. How are you going to punish the whole region? And claiming, you are loving Ethiopia, you are working on building Ethiopia. That doesn't make sense. If you want to build Ethiopia, you have to, release people's money and allow public service, electricity, internet, and other services. And how are you going to punish the whole region? You are causing the disintegration of Ethiopia. But for political reasons, for your own purpose, you talk about Ethiopia, Ethiopia, Ethiopia like a song every day. Abiy Ahmed and the group supporting Abiy Ahmed. You are the cause of disintegrating Ethiopia by your action, blocking people's money, shutting down people's account, shutting the internet, shutting the phone service, shutting the health service, shutting the school, the education system of the region, and blocking aid, punishing the whole region. You think the Tigrayan people feel Ethiopians? I don't think so. You already disappointed them. You are already starving them. You are causing them to feel they are not Ethiopians. So that's the very tough one. And I have other couple of videos, and let's read a couple of other news. Thank you again. Turkey expands armed drone sales to Ethiopia and Morocco. Turkey has expanded its exports of armored drones by negotiating sales deals with Morocco and Ethiopia after their successful use in international conflicts, according to 4 sources familiar with agreements. Any drones shipment to Ethiopia risks starting friction in already strained relations between Ankara and Cairo, which is at odds with Addis Ababa over hydropower dam on the Blue Nile. 2 Egyptian security sources said Cairo had asked the United States and some European nations to help it freeze any deal. A third Egyptian source said any agreement would have to be raised and clarified in talks between Cairo and Ankara as they try to repair ties. Turkey, Ethiopia, and Morocco have not formally announced any armed drones deal, but several sources familiar with agreements provided details to Reuters. One Turkish official said Ethiopia and Morocco had both requested purchases of Bayraktar TB2 drones in agreements that could also include spare parts guarantees and training. A diplomat who requested anonymity said separately that Morocco had received the first batch of armed drones it ordered in May. Ethiopia plans to acquire them, but the status of the order is less clear, the envoy said. The source didn't say how many drones were involved in the deals or provide financial details. Ukraine and Turkey's NATO partner, Poland, have also ordered armed drones, which military experts say are cheaper than market rivals made in Israel, China, and the United States. Official data show Turkey's defense and aviation exports rose sharply to Morocco and Ethiopia in the past 2 months, but do not provide details of drone sales. Ethiopia's military and the Prime Minister's office didn't respond to requests for comment on the matter. Morocco's government was not immediately available to comment. Its military does not discuss procurement publicly. Turkey's top defense procurement and development body didn't immediately respond to a written request for comment. Drone maker Bayraktar, whose TB2 model was designed by President Tayyip Erdogan's son-in-law, also didn't respond to a request for comment. So Ethiopia is in discussion to get drones. Some media claim some shipment of drones to Ethiopia from Turkey, but this Reuters report, saying it's not finalized, but they talk about purchasing Turkish drones. So that's the plan of Abiy Ahmed. Instead of easing, ending, and the war, he is looking for more advanced weapons from Turkey, and he is already using some artillery drones, according to various reports. I don't know where he get, maybe other countries, Iran or others. So he's using it, but he's still, they are not doing that much better for him. OCHA says life-saving medical supplies continue to be denied entry into Tigray. In a lengthy report disclosing development on the humanitarian response from in the northern Ethiopia, the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, said that essential and life-saving assistance continue to be blocked from entering Tigray. So this is already You heard it on the tape from United Nations briefing, daily briefing. So this is additional information, additional discussion on that matter. The overall situation in northern Ethiopia remains unpredictable and volatile. Military reinforcement by parties to the conflict is being reported, and the areas along the border between Tigray and Amara and Afar have seen clashes during the past week. The spread of the conflict to Afar and Amara regions is rapidly increasing the humanitarian needs, with access to some areas restricted due to conflict. In Tigray, the humanitarian situation continues to be increasingly dire as the delivery of humanitarian supplies into the region is still heavily restricted via the only roads through the Afar, Samara, Abala, Mekele. Checkpoints are in place along the roads, many of which conduct thorough search of the trucks, significantly delaying cargo movement. Between 6 and 12 October, 211 trucks of humanitarian supplies arrived in Tigray, up from 80 trucks the week before. This brings the number of trucks carrying humanitarian supplies that have entered the region since 12 July to 897, or about 14% of the trucks needed. Very low. While the increased number of trucks is a positive development, this is still insufficient compared to the need. An estimated 100 trucks with food, non-food items, and fuel must enter Tigray daily to meet the needs on the ground. The trucks this week carried food, nutrition, water, sanitation, and hygiene, and shelter supplies. Fuel, however, has still not been allowed into Tigray. 10 fuel tankers, 45,000 liters per each, remain staged in Samara. They have, however, received approval by the government to proceed and are expected to move to Tigray with the next convoy. Partners estimated they need more than 272,000 liters of fuel every month to carry out their humanitarian operations. Due to the severe shortage of fuel, several UN and NGO partners have had significantly reduced or suspended their activities. Water tracking services in central and northwestern zones, for instance, are reduced from 67 trucks to 45 trucks 2 weeks ago, as a result, affecting more than 472,000 people. Lack of fuel has also significantly affected the work to undertake improvements and repairs at IDP sites. Consequently, one United Nations agency temporarily withdrew staff from Abiy Adi, Adigrat, Aksum, and Shiraro. Two partners agencies reduced response in Adwa, Shire, and Mekele, while another partner halted operation activities completely. Much needed medical supplies and life-saving medications continue to be blocking from going into Tigray, leading to an alarming deterioration of the health situation and crippling partners' capacity to respond to urgent health needs. 9 trucks carrying medicines have been waiting for approval to proceed in Samara since the beginning of August. That's crazy. Polio vaccines, for example, are urgently required to vaccinate more than 887,000 children, and the measles vaccines need to vaccinate more than 790,000 children. Failure to do so will result in an outbreak. On 6 October, the second flight of the European Union humanitarian air cargo arrived in Mekele with 10.6 metric tons of mixed humanitarian supplies and 4.4 MT of ready-to-use therapeutic food and for severely malnourished children. So the report is a little bit long, okay? UNHAS continue to operate two passenger flights per week between Addis Ababa and Mekelle. Passengers reported intrusive and intensive search at Addis Ababa airport on departures and arrivals. Some items, including personal medicines, were at times not allowed. UNHAS reported severe shortage of fuel to operate generators and vehicles at Mekelle Airport to support the flight, while airport staff are not able to travel to work. This may have serious implications for the continuation of the flights. Food continues to be urgently needed in Tigray, and malnutrition continues to be at alarming levels. Between April and October 2021, food partners have distributed the common food baskets meant to cover 63% of the minimum caloric needs of the population, 2100 kilo per person per day, when stock was unavailable. However, as rounds of food distribution have stretched longer than expected, up to 4 or 5 months instead of 6 weeks, it is estimated that the distributed assistance could cover on average 29% of the minimum caloric needs of the population. Approximately 105,000 children under 5 years of age, including more than 54,000 girls, were screened during the reporting period of acute malnutrition, of whom 2,459, or about 2.3%, were diagnosed with severe acute malnutrition, compared to 2.1% a week earlier. Malnutrition among pregnant and lactating women continue to be very high at about 63%. Some 18,000 children under the age of 5 in Tigray have been admitted for treatment for severe acute malnutrition from February to August this year, compared to 8,900 in 2020, a 100% increase, according to UNICEF. In Afar region, as of July, severe acute malnutrition admissions increased by 17% as compared to the same period in 2020. The conflict continued to affect civilians in Afar and Amara regions, leading to displacement, disruption of livelihoods, and increased food insecurity. In Amara, hostilities have led to the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people in North Gondar, Central Gondar, South Wello, South Gondar, and Awi zones. In Afar, it is also estimated that hundreds of thousands of people are directly affected by the conflict, including many tens of thousands displaced. Assistance is urgently needed to these areas, and the humanitarian partners are scaling up the humanitarian response in support of the regional authority-led response. So this is very long report of OCHA discussing all the challenges they face in delivering food, and the search, the Ethiopian government search on the trucks, taking delays and purposely blocking it. All these are challenges, and the suffering of children, women, lactating women, and the pregnant women. All these. So these are the challenges, and thousands and thousands of people displaced, and the areas described, Gondar, Wallo, and other areas. So what our governments are doing, going around, visiting farm, and giving misleading information, and telling the Oromos not to arm themselves when the Amaras are armed to the teeth. So that is the game of Abiy Ahmed. Okay, this one, U.S. trade chief, Ethiopia's duty-free market status to be decided soon. Catherine Tai, U.S. Global Trade Representative, said Washington would soon decide on Ethiopia's status under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, an agreement which gives it duty-free access to the United States. Reports coming back to us through official channels and the civil society are not encouraging. What is happening in Ethiopia is a humanitarian crisis, said Tai, referring to fighting in northern Ethiopia and deepening famine in the region of Tigray. Ethiopia exported about 237 million worth of goods duty-free to the United States under AGOA in 2020, according to U.S. Commerce Department data. In August, her office issued a statement saying ongoing violation of internationally recognized human rights amid the ongoing conflict and the humanitarian crisis in northern Ethiopia could affect Ethiopia's future African Growth and Opportunity Act AGOA eligibility if unaddressed. So if this situation is not unaddressed, Ethiopia could lose that privilege. Any suspension would deal a major blow to Ethiopia's economy, which is already under immense pressure from the coronavirus pandemic, the 11-month-old conflict, and inflation of nearly 35%. Actually, it's more than 35%, about 42%. Blenesium, the Prime Minister's spokeswoman, sent a text message to the Reuters saying, "No one is more committed than the government of Ethiopia to the cause of addressing the ongoing humanitarian crisis in Tigray, Amhara, and Afar regions with urgency." No, you are not addressing. Humanitarian crises do not end by taking away jobs from low-income women that AGOA enabled. Rather, the problem deepens. We must not go there. That's what she said, let's assume. She previously said the suspension would take away 1 million jobs from the nation of 109 million people. AGOA gives sub-Saharan African nations duty-free access to the United States if they meet certain eligibility requirements, such as eliminating barriers to U.S. trade and investment and making progress toward political pluralism. Credit Reuters. So this thing is still not final. If the United States decide to end that privilege, that could affect Ethiopia agricultural and industrial products coming to the United States duty free, and Abiy Ahmed is gonna lose that money, so he will not have money to buy weapons. Okay, this one is about second Johnson and the Johnson COVID-19 vaccine get experts backing. FDA looking at lowering age for Pfizer boost. Anonymously recommended the agency authorized a second shot of Johnson and Johnson COVID-19 vaccine for all recipients of the one-dose inoculation. The agency also considering lowering the recommended age for booster shots of the Pfizer, BioNTech vaccine to people as young as 40. FDA official Dr. Peter Marks told the advisory panel. The FDA's Vaccines and Related Biological Product Advisory Committee backed the shots for all JJ recipients aged 18 and older at least 2 months after their first dose. The FDA is not bound to follow the recommendation, but typically does. After hearing presentation from Johnson & Johnson and FDA scientists, many members of the advisory panels asked if J&J single-dose vaccine should actually be considered a two-dose shot for everyone. They pointed to the lower level of virus neutralizing antibodies it provoked compared to vaccines using messenger RNA technology from Moderna and Pfizer BioNTech. There is a public health imperative. What we are seeing is this is a group with overall lower efficacy than we have seen with the messenger RNA vaccine. And so there is some urgency to do something, said Dr. Arnold Monto, an epidemiologist at the University of Michigan's School of Public Health, who chaired the meeting. The FDA authorized boosters of the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine last month for Americans aged 65 and older and those at high risk of severe illness or occupational exposure to the virus. Marks, director of the FDA Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, said data from Israel, where Pfizer booster shots have already been administered broadly, suggested that the vaccine efficacy is waning and makes a compelling case for lowering the age for receiving booster shots at 40. Concerning about rare case of heart inflammation in younger men who received the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine also made 40 a good cutoff point for additional shots, Mark said. So this is about getting the additional shots, booster shots. We all got the regular shots, maybe the Johnson one and the Pfizer 2 times. So after after some time for Pfizer vaccine, after 8 months, they say the capacity of that vaccine may be loose, so you need another booster shot. And for Johnson & Johnson, after the first shot, you may need another shot to save yourself from COVID-19. So that means now the FDA got approved. So for now, 65 and upper. Then after that, people with some exposure to virus, doctors, nurses. Then for regular citizens below 65, we'll have this booster shot. We will take it as long as medical doctors, health experts recommend it, because we don't want to take a chance. Okay, this is the last part for today's reading. Election of the United States to United Nations Human Rights Council, HRC. See, the leadership make a difference. Trump pulled out of HRC, Human Rights Council, when he was a president. Biden came in with a different leadership, with a different agenda, with a global leadership, with engagement, believing in engagement with others, working with others. Now the United States is elected into Human Rights Council. So the leadership makes a difference. That's why we are calling all Ethiopians especially those who are supporting prosperity agenda, those Amaras, I'm telling you. Abiy he got cornerstone support from Amaras. If those Amaras, you know, take a minute to see how his leadership, and instead of looking just some small areas, some small lands to grab, to retake from TDF, they are losing big picture. So Walqait Tagade, they crying about Walqait Tagade. Now they are losing the majority areas and they are causing their people to suffer. So they have to see a big picture, you know. So to bring a big picture, save for Amarans, to live everywhere peacefully with others, yet they have to have the leadership in a central government who can handle all the complex situation of Ethiopia. The one who is not misleading them, the one who is not lying to them, the one who is working for peace, stability, and global engagement, for creating economy, for a better relationship instead of conflict, command post, war. So they have to, instead of just supporting him blindly, thinking they are getting advantages at this current situation. They are not getting advantages. They are causing their people to misery. They are creating huge problem, displacement, and hunger, and a long time or lasting problem in that region. So they have to think and join others and bringing change to the leadership in that country, especially for inclusive and competent leaders. That's the leadership make change. So this is one of the change. Since the earlier days of this administration, President Biden has made clear that our foreign policy would be grounded in America's most cherished democratic values, defending freedom, championing opportunity, upholding human rights and fundamental freedoms, respecting the rule of law, and treating everyone with dignity. He also promised to restore America's engagement internationally and renew our leadership to catalyze global action on shared challenges. We have taken up that charge to tirelessly pursue and promote those values in our bilateral and multilateral relationships and at the United Nations. Today, I can announce that the United States was elected to serve on the UN Human Rights Council for the next term, beginning in 2022. We will work hard to ensure the Council uphold its highest aspiration and better support those fighting against injustice and tyranny around the world. The path toward the protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms will be filled with challenges. The United States commits to continue this steadfast pursuit at every opportunity with any and all countries that will join us. The Council plays a meaningful role in protecting human rights and fundamental freedom by documenting atrocities in order to hold wrongdoers accountable. It focuses attention on emergencies and unfolding human rights crises, ensuring that those who are voiceless have a place to be heard. The Council provides a forum where we can have open discussions about ways we and our partners can improve. At the same time, it also suffers from serious flaws, including disproportionate attention on Israel and the membership of several states with egregious human rights records. Together, we must push back against attempts to subvert the ideals upon which the Human Rights Council was founded, including that each person is endowed with human rights and that states are obliged to protect those rights. I want to thank the United Nations member states for affording the United States the opportunity to serve again on the Human Rights Council. We look forward to the work ahead with our international partners to protect, defend, and advance human rights and the work of the Council globally. So that is the statement from U.S. State Department on U.S. United States elected and ready to serve as United Nations Security, Human Rights Council. So, as I said, this is a very, very clear difference. What Trump tried to do, what Biden is, doing right now. So, the leadership makes a difference. That's why we are looking for a better leadership in Ethiopia to end the bloodshed, to end the war, and all the hate in that country involving all Ethiopians. So that's enough on the reading part. Let's share some videos and to end today's presentation. Thank you again. There we go. Okay.
Everybody, and welcome to another edition
I like
of the
this guy.
Military and Foreign Affairs Network.
Little
I'm
bit
your host,
updates.
the voice of reason. I wanted to do a special update on the ongoing civil war taking place inside the former state of Ethiopia. Again, we were receiving reports and covering the ongoing coverage of the Ethiopian federal forces, the Abiy loyalist forces, that had launched a fairly large-scale offensive about 7-8 days ago. Preparations were weeks in the planning, and our understanding, the farthest the Ethiopian federal forces were ever able to really get was within the vicinity of Mersa, and I'm just scrolling in where you can see that town on our map along the A2 highway. And again, the goal of the federal forces was to push north from Dese, which is further south, and the goal was to eventually proceed north with the intention of taking control of Weldia right here. So again, the operation kicked off. It sounds like the farthest push north was within the vicinity of Mersa, and we can confirm the possible use of drones and obviously Ethiopian Air Force activity in this area as well. Now, since then, within the last few days, the Tigrayan Defense Forces have launched its own counteroffensive after the Ethiopian push north. The Abiy loyalist forces, the Amhara militia forces, were trying to push north, had stalled, and now we're seeing some fairly tenacious counter activity going on by the Tigrayan Defense Forces. So it would appear that the furthest advance was within the vicinity of Mersa. Mersa right now is under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Furthermore, the TDF have proceeded to push south from Mersa, and now we can confirm that the Tigrayan Defense Forces have entered the town of Wuchale. It is possible the TDF has even moved further south along the A2 highway from Wuchale, and fighting continues in that area. We continue to hear about airstrikes. We continue to hear about the use of heavy artillery back and forth. And right now it would appear that forces of the TDF are pushing towards Hayek, in the vicinity of Lake Hayek, and to directly threaten the city of Dese. There has also been reports of two mechanized columns of the Ethiopian federal forces that have departed the vicinity of Dese and were heading in a direction towards Kombolcha. Again, we don't know the status of that force. It could be proceeding further up the B11 highway, possibly with the intent of reinforcing forces near Shifra. Again, not really sure. We're continuing to monitor that situation on that column. So that would be a brigade minus size formation that would be heading towards the east-northeast from Dese. So does that mean that the Ethiopian federal forces feel that their position is fairly well secure in terms of its positions north of Dese? Is it something else? Again, we don't really know. We do know the TDF is having success along the A2 pressing south, especially in some of the battles that were reported near Wachale, and then obviously the operation that is being conducted in the northeast by the Tigrayan Defense Forces as well. So again, significant fighting continues, and we will continue to bring in reports as we receive information. Have a great day, everybody.
So,
bless our family and bless
I
my
like
son Dougie
this,
with a job. He's 42.
sharing
Deserves all
this
the
guy.
success his sister has.
Mm.
My little Dougie.
Okay, this is advertisement.
And I can have my craftsman back.
15-year-old Khadija Rabiu comes here to learn how to build robots. She has bigger dreams that one day she will design and build more complex machines that help save lives and protect the environment. Khadija is from a conservative society in northern Nigeria. At her age, many girls here are conditioned to think of starting a family. But the aspiring engineer says that can wait.
I want to be an engineer, to build as many different devices as I can. I'm particularly interested in solar-powered devices.
Fellow student Fatima Zakari says she is drawn to renewable energy and wants to excel in the field. She's already helped build some prototypes.
I came here to learn, and I have been taught a lot about how windmills work and how to replace their various components.
All the girls here are from poor families who can't afford private tuition, and the skills they learn aren't available in government-run schools. The Kabara Community Development Initiative, an non-governmental organization, is empowering them with life-changing skills they need to realize their dreams.
The objective here is to create an opportunity whereby we're able to leapfrog into the future and teach these young women principles that around science, technology, maths, how they are forged in practice with interaction, teaching basic programming skills through learning, through fun activities.
Community leader Muhammad Nasir Wada runs one of the training centers. He says the idea is helping to end all traditions that hold back girls from attaining their full potential.
The first change you see is the psychological change. When they came in, they were drooping, their heads were down. But after a few weeks, they were all sort of holding their heads up high with pride. And that also affects the whole community as well.
Robotics aren't the only skills these students get to learn. In this cramped classroom, more than 70 girls learn computing with support from the Microsoft Corporation. Trainers hope the skills these girls get here will help them gain financial independence. In this part of northern Nigeria, most girls are expected to get married by their 20th birthday, but many get divorced before they even settle in. That's when organizers believe their training will be useful. But a lack of resources is threatening to derail the program.
So there's always that challenge of funding. Funding is a major challenge, because we also have to equip our trainers and equip our teachers with as much information and as much training as possible.
With money drying up fast, a beautiful idea to help disadvantaged teenagers may soon fade into oblivion, along with hopes of many girls who dream of changing their society and the world. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Kamu, Nigeria.
Okay, thank you, Al Jazeera, for that reporting. And that's is the kind of situation we are advocating in Ethiopia too, to allow or give the opportunity for girls and other young generation to be creative, to design something for the country and be independently, operate in the future, get some job, encouraging job, fund this kind of project instead of funding endless war everywhere in Ethiopia, instead of creating tension, you know, and hate, and instead of ignoring the call for ceasefire, uh, uh, end this war by Ethiopians and by the global community. So that's why we are advocating. That's why we call on those supporters of Abiy Ahmed, those supporters of Prosperity Party. Your agenda is not working. You are feeding false prosperity to Ethiopians, and you are not telling us the reality. You are giving us false hope. You know, the report about Ethiopia is misery, hunger, drought, malnutrition, starvation, conflict, hate among Ethiopians, ethnic tension, and weak central government which cannot control the movement of regions. Regions are crossing into other regions and killing each other. So that's why we call on those supporting Abiy Ahmed to think again and work for a better leadership in that country. I know you claim you conducted special election which never happened in the world. That's what you're claiming by arresting all opposition political parties, by threatening others, and the whole global communities knows, witnessed how undemocratic it is. But you claiming, it's up to you. You can claim for time being, but you are not changing that country. You are not changing the face of that country. Ethiopia is the country in collapse, the country in a failed leadership. The country is full of conflict. The country is full of inflation, full of unemployment, and global isolation. So with this image, I don't know what the current leadership is sitting there. I know the palace is not threatened by any force at this time, but beyond that, everywhere is chaos, everywhere is bloodshed, everywhere is killing, everywhere is command post, everywhere is expensive life. People cannot even buy bread. So that's a challenge, and I hope they are listening. I hope Abiy Ahmed will resign just like his predecessor, Haile Mariam Desalegn. Haile Mariam Desalegn resigned early, resigned from his post before the country was going into deep trouble. But the guys now, They are in a different world. I don't think they understand. Or they are misleading people, accepting a peace deal and conducting war, and cheating the African Union, cheating the European Union, cheating the United States, playing around, and blaming the United States for advising them to end this war. So that's all I have for today. I will be back with other news and with other concerned citizens media. Comment, please share, comment on it. Thank you for your time. So long. Be safe. See you again.